Well, Bear, we didn't hit the Powerball jackpot.
We did not. We are back in our beautiful, spacious studio at an unknown location. We don't want to discuss that. But no, we're back for another edition of Extra Points.
I figured since we didn't win that lottery, we'll play our own little version of the
Okay,
lottery.
I'm
It's
in.
kind of like the NBA draft lottery, but we're going to do it with girls basketball teams and how we think they might fare in the WIA
It's a lot of
tournament.
pressure.
Which
It's a
starts
lot of
next
pressure,
week.
but we can handle it, yes.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll start there. And
We'll talk about the Badgers again, men's basketball. Both group still playing very good basketball, and what Eric and I believe it will take for them to get a #1 seed in the upcoming NCAA tournament.
then we'll wrap things up with a little brief discussion about state swim. It's first
Boys State Swim this Friday and Saturday.
First state competition of the winter sports season.
Yes.
So all that and more coming right up on Extra Points. How many numbers did we hit in that thing again?
We had one number on two different lines, and that doesn't pay out.
No,
so
no.
we didn't have
$0.
the Powerball. 19 was the Powerball. We didn't have that.
We were going to retire as an entire sports section,
Yes,
but I guess
we
we'll just have
were.
to stick around and do some more extra points
More
here.
extra
Welcome
points.
back. Gazette sports editor Eric Schmolt here with sports writer John Barry, and we're here to talk local state sports, and it's bracket time.
It's bracketology time.
Sunday, the girls' basketball brackets came out for all 5 divisions, and we've got quite a few teams that could make a run here at it.
The Resch Center is definitely on the radar of a few teams in our area. There's no doubt about it.
Most teams have to win 4 games, I guess, to get to state, which is at Green Bay. We had Broadhead there last year, so we'll see if we can get a team back there.
Let's get 2 there. Why not?
Sure.
We're going to make the trip.
I picked out 4 teams that I thought maybe have the best chance of all
Okay.
of our area teams, and we've got them here in the lottery. I don't know if you want to pick first, or do you want me to go
I'm
first?
picking first,
All
yes.
right.
I'm picking first. I'm going with a lucky envelope number 2 for all you
right.
playing at home.
What do you got in there?
I've got, let's see here. Who do I have? I have, oh boy, I got the king. I got Whitewater. Woo!
The Whippets.
The Whippets. No, for Division III, the best team I've seen this year, without a question. They're deep. They're talented. Judy Harms has got them playing at a very high level. I mean, they really haven't been tested. But then you got to look at their bracket.
Crazy.
And it gets tough right away with a potential Game 2 against Lakeside Lutheran, unbeaten, and a team very similar. Got some size. Good athletes. A number of those girls are on the championship volleyball team, and boy, what a tough sectional. And if Whitewater can meander their way through that sectional, I don't see anybody at state giving them any trouble.
It's pretty ridiculous when you look at it. I think Whitewater's number 1, Lakeside's number 3. You got Adams Friendship on the other side of that sectional, has been ranked all year. Dodgeville's up there.
Marshall.
This bracket's loaded, and you and I were kind of talking about it yesterday. We had the run from the Delavan Darien boys soccer team this fall, and they had to run the gauntlet where they beat the 1, 2, and 3 teams that were ranked in the state just to get to the state tournament.
Get there,
And then they kind of ran wild, and you could see the same thing maybe happening with this Division III
Definitely,
girls bracket.
and we both agree that it's, for some reason, it's not right. It shouldn't be this way. I mean,
I don't know how you would.
If Whitewater and Lakeside are the 2 best teams in the state, they should play in the championship game, not in a regional final, but it is what it is.
How do you do it without having
I don't know.
6-hour bus trips?
Yeah, exactly. You understand why they do it. It's just too bad that this is the way that it pans out. But again, for the Whippets to get to that point, they're going to have to prove themselves right away. And they've answered the bell every time this year. And I'm glad I drew them because I can see the Whippets playing at the Resch Center. And then let's face it, if they get there, they are going to be a prohibitive favorite to win the Division III state title.
Yep, they're about to win their 22nd game in a row,
Yep.
which I think I was hearing would tie any Whitewater basketball mark. There was the boys team, I think, back in the day that ran off 22 in a row.
When Hugh Gnancic was there, I think they did have a big season as well. But
I think I saw them play probably one of their worst games of the year last week, and they still beat McFarland by, I think, 17 points.
17, yeah.
They've got a nice combination. Sarah Schumacher, Miriam Smith-Traore, both. They've got some size to them that'll help.
And Rebecca Schumacher
Rebecca's on the outside, and they've
very good. And
they've got girls that can shoot the 3. Maybe other than the bracket itself and the gauntlet they have to go through, maybe the free throw shooting something to maybe pay attention to.
Yep. And how teams handle their press. If teams are able to break that press early and often and cause them some trouble, then Judy may have to rethink her strategy a little bit, and they may turn into just a half-court defense, and who knows, with a team with some quickness that can beat down their press and take advantage of it, that could give them a problem.
Probably I don't know, maybe the best chance to get to state out of any of the area teams.
I'm glad, like I say, I'm glad I drew that envelope.
All right, well,
your turn.
Where should I go?
Well, that's up to you.
I think we'll go with number one.
Number one,
here.
Okay. I'm sensing Janesville Craig coming out of that one. Amazing. Just amazing.
It's amazing what you do here.
It is. It's
Janesville
crazy.
Craig, number one seed there in the Division I after a wild seeding meeting, or what I assume was one.
I'm sure it was.
They stacked all 18 teams in the seeding room. If Whitewater's not the best chance, then Craig is, I would say, in the area teams. Cougars on Thursday night will have a chance to earn a share of the Big 8 Conference title, and then, assuming they would win there, a chance to win it outright in the Middleton rematch on Saturday afternoon. They've never won a Big 8 Conference title before, so just to be in that spot is pretty amazing. And when you take a look at their bracket, a lot of teams that they've seen already, a lot of Big 8 teams, and you got to like their chances going forward in the postseason with players like senior Al Hughes at the point and Delaney Schoenberger with her defense. And this team's been pretty solid all year long against some really decent competition. The only losses against Pius, the top-ranked team in Division II, and Verona.
Yep.
I like their chances in this Division I bracket.
Well, I mean, when you break down the Cougars, the two things that stand out is their defense and their ability to make shots from the outside. And if they can continue to do that, we've seen what happens when they play some teams with some height. Pius gave them trouble. Verona certainly beat them and gave them all sorts of trouble. So, but let's not get to that point until, let's face it, Parker's on the horizon probably. And
sectional semifinal would be, Parker's the 4 seed.
It would be Parker
Thursday,
Craig
March
at Lake
5th.
Geneva Badger.
Yep.
And let's face it, I think the second most winningest coach in tournament history is Tom Clawiter, and he still resides over at Janesville Parker. So, I don't think Craig's going to get caught looking ahead to Verona or Middleton in that sectional, not with Parker there. Even without Morgan McCulloch and playing shorthanded, the Vikings are still very capable. They proved that against Middleton earlier in the year when they just pounded them at home. So,
do you worry about the outside shooting a little bit? Sometimes they say
I do
you live
in the
by the
sense
3
that,
or die by the 3.
I do in the sense that if they're having an off night, or if somebody is quick enough to play man-to-man and extends that defense and forces them to go inside, then I would worry about it a little bit. And certainly, if Parker is the opponent in that sectional semifinal, they'll try to slow that game down as much as they can and make it a every possession counts kind of thing. So I worry about it, but let's face it, Craig has been able to answer the call every time this year, except for the 2 games. And I don't doubt anything they've done this year. They're a chance to be like you said, the first time in school history winning a Big 8 title. So, they're playing well, and I would expect that to continue in the postseason just because of, like you said, the leadership of Hughes and the tenacity that they bring defensively.
Pretty veteran group, too, that's played quite a few minutes. Didn't lose a whole ton from last year. Lost to Allie Calkins,
right.
But everybody else has been back and is experienced and has played in tournament games before.
Yeah.
And, I think that bodes well. What?
Now
you don't even know what 4 teams I picked.
I'm going with Broadhead here. That's my guess, and I've been wrong many times before. And I got the Vikes. I got Janesville Parker, and we talked about them. I mean, let's face it, they're going to be a tough out. I mean, I'm not saying they've got the horses to get to the rush center and get that far, because they probably don't. They're lacking on offense, but Paige Smith can certainly fill it up with the best of them. They've got other kids that are starting to come along, Katie Ewell, Bree Porter, and then the seniors that have been there, Nikki Foster and Jessica Thompson.
Catherine
Dabanowicz. Kids that really have stepped up in the absence of McCulloch, but they miss her. I mean, they miss their point guard. They miss the person bringing up the ball, and she gave them some size that they're lacking right now, and the bench is pretty thin. But Parker, again, if they can keep the score in the 30s, we've seen a lot of strange things happen this year, and if they were to get by Craig in a sectional semifinal and somehow get in the final, and Middleton's there, we know they can beat them. They beat them once already pretty handily. So, a lot of things are going to happen before then, but again, the Parker, regardless of who beats them, they're going to be a tough out.
The Parker and Craig, both games pretty close.
Pretty close until the second game they pulled away late.
Yeah, but for 6 quarters, real close.
Real close.
I think that they can play with those teams that were in the upper 3 of the Big 8, and they beat one of them. They were one for 6.
I think the team that they don't match up with is Verona.
Sure.
And Tom will tell you that because of Opsal and
a lot of people
and Luring and some other kids. They're just so much bigger. And Parker, again, just doesn't have the bench. And, if Smith or Dabanowicz gets in early foul trouble against a team like Verona, they're in trouble. Last but not least, I'm saying Broadhead, but that's just me.
Maybe you were looking over my shoulder.
I was not looking over your shoulder. I would never do that. Oh,
it is the Cards.
It's the Cardinals.
It's the Cards. And I picked them because I was thinking we could pick a wild card team, but to me they are kind of the wild card team.
They are kind of, I would agree.
The team that, yes, they don't have the big gun they had
Carly
last
Moans
year.
is gone, but
they have experience. Kylie Moe, Amber Pickle, those girls played through this tournament last year. This bracket, you know, you would like to think they're going to get to that sectional semifinal against Whitewater or Lakeside, and who knows what happens there. Obviously, they didn't fare well against Whitewater the first time.
They might match up differently against Lakeside.
Right, so you don't know. So I think out of all the area teams that are a little bit more of a wild card group, that's the one that strikes me as maybe they pull something together. They also, throughout this season, have shown they can get to the free throw line, which can play a huge role in tournament play. They've had crazy amounts of free throw attempts in quite a few of their games, and if you get a team, you know, what these top 10 teams are in this bracket into some foul trouble, you never know what could happen.
Well, and let's face it, I mean, it's basketball like any other sport. In a single elimination tournament, you have one bad game, that's it, you're done. And for Broadhead's sake, you know, they got to hope if they get into a game where they're a decided underdog, that maybe the shots aren't falling, maybe somebody's in foul trouble, maybe things just aren't working that day, and you try to steal a victory, and then the confidence grows at that point. And certainly, you know, I saw them against Whitewater. They were overmatched, but, you know, if Whitewater were to stumble, I think Broadhead can play with anybody else in that bracket.
Will be interesting to see how this thing gets started officially next Tuesday, the February 24th, and it'll come quick. We'll see who gets.
March Madness has become February Madness.
Hopefully we can have a reason to go up to the Resch Center.
I'd like 2 reasons to go up. I'd like 2 teams to be up there. I don't care who it is, but I'd love to go up there to make that 3-hour trip to watch 2 teams play. Would be really cool. If you let me go. I mean, you might be going on your own. I might be stuck here doing curling again or something.
We might all be there.
Yeah, there you go.
Just go have a party. Those brackets are out, but we still got a couple of weeks before we get the big NCAA March Madness bracket out. I've had quite a few discussions with people lately. Badgers with Minnesota on Saturday, and then things kind of get really interesting. At Maryland, Michigan State at home, at Minnesota, at Ohio State. That's a pretty good run.
That's a good gauntlet to run through, yeah. And again, I think you and I talked about it. I don't see them going undefeated. I don't see them running the table. Doesn't mean they won't, but you know, even with one loss, still going to win the Big Ten title. And if they can win the Big Ten tournament, which Selection Sunday is the day of the Big Ten championship game, you know, what a better way to prove you're number one worthy than by winning the Big Ten title on that game that the entire selection committee sits and watches before they go in and make their decision.
I was up there Sunday, so I got a chance to see him play. A little nervous about the lack of depth right now.
Yeah, the bench. And I agree.
I mean, I don't know what's going on with Dukin, but at one point he was at least he could go in there. You could count on him for some rebounds.
It's almost like both he and Vito, as soon as they get into the game, just want to throw a shot up to like get in part of the game, and they're just not playing well right now. And with Dewey, you almost sense he's pressing a little bit. Like he knows his limits, his minutes are getting limited, so he's really trying to impress when he gets out there instead of just playing basketball. Just let the game come to you. And I thought the Nebraska game late, when Nebraska made the run and cut it to 5, when the Badgers were up, you know, pretty handily most of the game. The first game they really missed Trent Jackson, you know, Trayvon Jackson, just because, you know, that leadership. Koenig didn't seem like he wanted the ball down the stretch. He was kind of at half court waiting for a pass where, let's face it, Trayvon would have been right there at the out of bounds saying, hey, give me the ball. You know, I'll take it and I'll get fouled or whatever. So, and hopefully we get him back, and that certainly helps your depth. Showalter, again, athletic and that, but doesn't handle the ball well enough to play the point guard and not big enough to play the off guard spot. So he's kind of what you would call a tweener, but a guy that certainly gives you the effort that you're looking for.
And when you get Trayvon back, now you have at least a 6-man rotation instead of 5, where you're trying to bring
and let's face it, it doesn't matter. Everyone says, well, will Trayvon start? Who cares? I'm curious who's on the court at the end of the game. That's the most important thing.
What team do you think they're going to lose to here?
Maryland? Oh, Ohio State on the road is probably the one I would probably pinpoint the most. You know, Tom Izzo always seems to strategize pretty well for the Badgers. That's at the Kohl Center. I mean, that could be a game they could stumble. I mean, I hope I'm wrong.
It's on the road.
I hope
last game on the road.
Last game on the road, yeah. So you hope that they don't, but if they do, you know, I think they're right now in the top 1 or 2 with wins against top 50 RPI teams. So I mean, their resume is good enough.
Sounds good. And we go from that Madison venue across the campus to the UW Natatorium.
UW, beautiful Taj Mahal, UW Natatorium. No, I mean, it's an exciting time. We were just looking back on Janesville kids. Craig and Parker with their most kids qualifying for state that we can remember in a long time. Parker has not had a swimmer make the podium since 2008. DJ Dvorak made it in the 50 and the 100 free. Craig hasn't had a kid on the podium in the top 6 since 2009 when Nick Hayskamp made it in the 100 backstroke. So it's been, 6 years for Craig, 7 years for Parker, and this might be the year where we at least get back on the podium. And that's tough to do, especially with the Big 8 conference as good as Memorial and Middleton and Sun Prairie and those teams are. But Parker, huge weekend, biggest weekend that program's had in decades last Saturday. They broke 4 school records, 3 relay records included. They've got 3 relay teams. Mark Goslin and Austin Walter also qualify as individuals. So Parker's they'll be represented in 5 of the 11 events, and that's rare air for Janesville Swim.
On the Craig side, Peter Loftus.
Peter Loftus in 2 events. A relay team that, needed to have a top time, and that's what they did at the sectional meet. They put their top time together. So I believe it's Goswick, McCarthy, Barrick McCarthy, Loftus, and Sullivan Bradley. And then Sullivan Bradley also qualified in the 200 free. So just both coaches were on cloud 9. Brian Kitzman at Craig and Eric Rhodes at Parker just talking about how, these guys were part of the South Central Swim Club in the off season, and it's paying dividends because Janesville is well represented, the best representation it's had at the state meet in a number of years, if not ever.
Suppose we'll also mention Badger, the co-op's got some teams through, and junior Andrew Shane.
Andrew Shane is one of the top seeds in the 100 freestyle, yeah. And, a co-op program, but majority of those kids are Badger kids. So, you take the co-op for what it is. And then certainly, Mitch Roberts at Melton, one of the top times in the 100 breaststroke in Division II. And then Whitewater, which we did a story on in Prep Spot, really a feel-good story there. John Zimder's got a chance to qualify or place in 2 events. And then the relay teams with Zimders and Benny Liang and Guantan Wo and Jason Shelbourne as well. So the Whippets are likely to win some medals as well. So it's going to be an exciting Friday night Division I, or Friday night Division II, Saturday afternoon Division I, and going to be a lot of medals picked up by area swimmers.
Sounds good. Keep an eye on that. We'll provide updates on Twitter and on GazetteXtra.com, and you can follow us throughout. Like us on YouTube.
Yes, like us.
Like that. We could play some more lottery.
We could do lottery again, and maybe we could, pick Powerball numbers better next time.
Maybe. We didn't pick them.
No, it was random.
Until next time, good luck. Have fun.
Take care, everybody. Go Bucky.
We'll see you next week.